action, 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 action. Hi everyone, how you doing today? My name is Sam and welcome to the channel SamSamtheRising. And today I'll be talking about my experiences of coming out as non-binary. Non-binary what? Gender non-conforming who? What do these words mean, Samantha? Okay, hold up. I'm here, I'm queer, and I'm ready to suck on your ear with some information. Non-binary, denoting having or relating to a gender identity that does not conform to traditional binary beliefs about gender. Second part, so gender non-conforming, it says relating to a person whose behaviour or appearance does not conform to prevailing cultural and social expectations about what is appropriate to their gender. Ta-da! In this video today, I'll sort of be outlining about 5 things that I want to discuss. The first is, when did I recognise that I was sort of non-binary? And when did it become an active thing in my life that I started just living by? So the second part is, what was my practicable way of addressing this and also how I can connect to this? The third part is my coming out non-binary experience. And the fourth part is response from my wider community. And the last part is the advice I would give to people who are going for this non-binary, gender non-conforming experience. I would say it sort of started with my coming out gay experience. I very much knew that I didn't connect to sort of inherently masculine tropes. I feel like that sort of starts from maybe my youth, where I don't really act like a stereotypical boy. I have a bouncy personality. I was quite flamboyant. I was quite sometimes quite an outrageous person, the stuff that I would get up to. I found that my gender expression didn't always match how I felt quite internally. Like in terms of connecting to a non-binary identity, obviously I very much get I look like a guy. I would sort of describe it as my sexuality is of a gay male, if we were going to go in sort of layman terms. If we're going to look more deeply and look at me internally, I would say that I don't really connect to sort of stereotypical gender norm rules, and that's probably where I sort of differ in my attitude and also expression towards being a man. I have both and also equally none. I think it's such a silly thing. If we're going to go social or political with my viewpoint, I would say that I don't really believe in the concept of masculinity and femininity. That is just, we exist, and we as humans have decided to label these things or connect these things to certain tropes in different ways. But for me, I would say I'm 6'4", I've got a bit of muscle on me. I get that I'm a very masculine person. Like, I'm not going to dispute that. But for me, I just don't connect to the idea that I have to listen to these structural things that we've said as a human species that we need to adhere to. As a queer person, also as a non-binary person, I feel like I'm told that I have to follow a strict code of how I should dress, how I should present myself, that there can't be really a combination of masculinity and femininity, that there can't be an extremeness in either or, that I can't be who I feel and connect to. I feel like one part it really felt like I was restricting myself in terms of my expression. I wasn't allowing myself to be feminine. I wasn't allowing myself to be camp. I wasn't allowing myself to be this beautiful person that I know I am. And also these different valves, I would say different, maybe not valves, maybe these different parts of me that I was very much repressing and oppressing within myself that I wasn't allowing to come out. I find that my non-binary is a way of me connecting into a deeper part of myself. I see fashion and clothing as like an extension of my personality, an extension of who I can be, of who I am. Also, it's recognizing that these things that society tells us to be, I don't have to connect to. I don't have to be these things. When did I sort of know? Was round about when I was 18, I was very much, oh, I don't care about this stuff. This is so like, this is such a pressure to be put on you. I see also the damage that has been put on people because of the extreme masculinity that they have to present. And obviously we see that right now in very much the manosphere, if we want to enter that space. And some of us love the safeness that a binariness of gender sort of provides us. But for me, it makes me feel so unsafe. Binariness of gender sort of restricts and represses people. It makes them do things that they would never partake in. But to continue on, and when did I recognise coming out gay? I was very much wearing different kinds of clothing. I was being a bit more fruity with my dressing up. I found it sort of became an active thing in my life when I was personally wanting to go by a gender non-conforming name. So if you knew me before I changed my name, I used to be Kane Marshall. In terms of, for me, I wanted a name that was my own. I feel like everybody should be able to choose their own name because I feel like a name is so powerful. I feel like most of my people online were pretty okay about it. Like people out of my social media, they were very much understanding of it all. And then I feel like in my inner sphere, like in my family, oh my god, geez Louise, it was like I just murdered somebody. It was like, your name's not Sam, it's Kane. And I'm like, my name's Sam. That's what I'm going by now. That's how I want to be dressed. There's sort of a couple levels to this, all how I connect to this name. Sam, I sort of like could be Samantha, Sammy, could be Samson, could be Samandaria. It could be any name. But also, I find it really funny that my first name is Sam and my second name is Yule. And then you put them together, Samuel. I know. But also, another thing to this name was my dad's initials was Scott Andrew Marshall. S-A-M. And I actually blew my mind. I was like, so I've got like a original name for me, my name and surname make another name, and then my third name connects to my dad, who I don't have a relationship with, but also is like he's still getting a part of that like heritage thing that we put on, that our children take on the father's name or when you get married or whatever. For me, I changed my name. I think it was about July 2015. So between my 6th year and before I started my first year of college. So it was this funny space where I came into college and everybody knew my name by Sam, and I'd just been going by it for about a month when I entered there. And then when I was like, and everybody pre that knew me as Kane. So we're talking 18 years of life, and then the month of new people knew me as his new name. And it was very much fun to get used to. I was it's how I like to describe it is like you're looking at the colour blue and calling it red. It'd be like, what are we doing? It's like it was such a mind flip for some people. They couldn't really understand, and some people didn't really care for it. Some people didn't really appreciate it. I felt like some people thought I was being rude to my parents by changing my name, and I'm sort of like, it's my life. I can choose my name however I want and however I identify. It's not for you to decide. But it was funny in this new space where all these new people were calling me Sam, and I'd be even on the same campus, like walking about Arbroath, and I still being called Kane by some people who maybe didn't know. Even by the following year, in 2016 June time, there was some boys who came in from my secondary school and they were calling me Kane, and I went, that's not my name. It was so because it was a year later on, and I was like, I'm no longer referred to as that, and I just went, that's not my name. And oh my god, I think that was like the most rage baiting thing I've ever seen. They were like they almost couldn't like, we didn't know. It was very much if you think about teenage boys at 18, 19, be like, oh, all right. It was so funny. I actually love thinking of that memory. The second part of this video I want to talk about was the practical way of addressing this connection. And I found just really, it was exploring the different ways I could like present my clothes, and it was just having very much fun. Another part was, how could I legally change my name? And at the time, you had the option of, I think it was deed poll, or you could do a statutory declaration. And for me, the statutory declaration looks sort of an easier thing. So I still have the document today, it's just up there in my little folder cabinet. Nowadays, I don't really have to provide it for anything unless with my birth certificate. So legally, I've been going by Sam for about 9 years and 8 months. Okay, and the third part is my coming out experience. It was sort of a bit of a mixed bag. I've sort of talked about it a little bit. So it was very much, non-binariness is a weird concept because people don't automatically assume that I am non-binary or that I connect to this. And because it's not really something that I force upon people. I'd say, oh, don't call me they, them, or don't call me he, don't call me she. I feel like I'm quite inclusive with how I'm referred to. You can refer me as she, you can refer me as he, you can refer me as they. It's more in queer spaces, I'll be like, oh yeah, I prefer he, they. We have queer communities, but we live in a very white, cisgender, heteronormative world that doesn't really care for these things, the amount of energy I would have to expend on correcting people on how I would want to be referred, it's not worth my time. Like, for me internally is I'm absolutely perfect, I'm at peace with it, I connect to it, I love it, I love me for how I am, and I don't really need people to validate that in a sense. But I get that's not the case for everybody. For you guys who are watching, if somebody asks you to refer to them as a specific pronoun or gender expression, please just respect that. And I can tell from my own experience, it's not something that I've decided on a whim. It's very much I've grown with this, I've developed with this, and it's something that I connect to. And the process of coming out non-binary, I feel like it's a continual thing I do now. It's more when I'm dressing up, when I'm going on a night out, I'm very much in my female persona or my drag persona or my very, like, instead of my masculine presenting self, I'm in a very feminine clothing, I'm in heels. And I get those sort of questions. People ask, am I trans? Maybe like a trans woman, and I'd be like, no, I'm not a trans woman, but I'm non-binary. So if we sort of understand that is non-binarist has its own expression, and then you have like trans women and trans men. So for me, it comes under the expression of transness, because I feel like my gender expression, the gender non-conforming part, can be fluid. I feel more comfortable when I'm dressed up. I feel more protected. I feel like I'm on top of the world. And sometimes when I'm on a night out, I don't feel that way. I feel like I shrivel up. I'm very much an introvert. And I find that putting clothes on, putting something on to sort of lighten my mood, to put a pep in my step, I find dressing feminine actually gives me more confidence and energy when being out in a world where I sometimes don't feel comfortable and safe, because for me it's my protection. On to the next part, response from my community. I would say that people were really quite accepting and quite open. I've obviously had the odd family member who still refers to me as my dead name, and I don't really engage with them. I don't have to engage with them. I'm of an age, 28, where I don't really have to speak to these people who don't really respect me or my choices on how I wish to be addressed. It's not very difficult. To me, we continually perform gender and how we go about our life and how we dress. Like, gender expression is just one facet of a very multi-dimensional person, and that's what I see myself like. Whenever we're on a night out, people are like, oh my god, I love your outfit. It's such a positive experience. People are so kind about it. I find that nights out are the sort of most comfortable part. I feel like dressing up. I don't really go about dressing in a feminine manner during the daytime, unless I'm obviously going to an event where I know I will be with fellow queers and also have a bit of safeness. I'm with loved ones who will always be there for me if anything goes out of hand. My advice for anybody who wants to sort of connect more to their non-binariness, wants to learn more about it, or sort of sees them being more gender non-conforming, I would start by saying, have a bit of fun with how you dress, have a bit of fun in how you maybe do your hair, maybe learn about doing makeup, definitely learn about like applying like nail polish. I feel like that's a very fun way of doing it, is that you're calling something that people visibly see when you're wandering about the place. And it definitely for your fashion, that could be a way you sort of express the femininity, express masculinity in however way you present. If you want to go down the sort of change your name route, definitely look online, because my statutory declaration is from 10 years ago. This is the name I've been going by, and it was very much an easy process. And if I was going to advise anybody about how to change their name, is I find looking online is such an easy and accessible way of where you can go. Anyway, thank you very much for listening, guys, and I hope you have a lovely day. Bye.